This is Voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson, and you're listening to the Folsom Frenzy Podcast.
Welcome to the Folsom Frenzy Podcast. My name is Jake, and we got the full crew here today. Guys, it's game week. Let's go, Buffs.
Let's go, baby.
This one is a very special episode. We give our season preview game by game. We're predicting wins and losses for the Buffs, including bowl games, potential Big 12 championship, and maybe even a playoff bid. So stick with us. We're going to walk game by game and give our predictions. Let me go ahead and share my screen, guys, just so we can kind of go through the predictions here. Bear with me.
Okay.
For all of our dear Spotify listeners, Jake is going to do a great job of explaining and describing everything for your audible experience.
Thank you, Chase. So now up on the screen is the full schedule for the CU Buffs in 2025. A really good slate for the Buffs. Let's just go game by game, starting with Georgia Tech. I am going to show our wins and losses here. So
Oh no, we lost Jake.
Jake.
Oh my God, Jake's microphone strikes again. I wasn't even on the episode, and I had to listen to it. But I'll take it from here, Jake. I'll read it across the board while you nervously fix your mic. But we've got Jake at a loss, Chase at a win, Strace at a loss, Topher at a win. While Jake tries to troubleshoot, I'll go. I originally had this as a loss. I think in my heart of hearts, think this might be a loss. I think Brent Key is for real. I think Georgia Tech is on the rise. I think this is a really scary game. I think this is the kind of game where it's going to get ugly early, but I think Colorado finds a way to win games like these. And the more I think about it, the more I think Colorado's great value on the money line, great value on the spread. I think this team is incredibly talented. I think Georgia Tech is more disciplined, but in week 0, I think the talent can outshine, and I think we take this one in a close win at Folsom Field to open up the season on a Friday night on ESPN. Topher, what you got?
You know, I'm very much in line, and I think that our offense is going to look a lot different than it has in years past, and I think that's a really big deal for the first time coming out. We are going to have a true dual-threat quarterback in Caden Salter, and Georgia Tech's defense is not going to be able to scout that, and I think that works very much in our advantage. I also think after the episode with Dukes, I'm a believer now. We have the roster to win, and I think that Shedeur and Travis did a great job of overcoming the areas where we were lacking. We no longer have those lacking areas. We are a more complete team now, and I think we're going to surprise some people on Friday night. Give me a big Buffs win.
Oh, I love the big Buffs win prediction. The reason I had this as a loss was like the other side of the coin of why Chase had this as a win. I think that this is a tough matchup against a physical team. And this is the exact type of opponent that CU struggled with specifically last year and even the year before that. And basically, we need to see some major improvements in those areas so that what happened against BYU doesn't happen against Georgia Tech, even though it's at home. And the thing is, like, I do think that that's going to happen. I do think that they're going to step up and play a much better game than they have against physical opponents. It's just, from the perspective of how this pans out the rest of the year, in my mind, losing this game might actually be a positive because you can take away, okay, we can actually compete with these lines in these trenches of a team like Georgia Tech. That was, I mean, they took Georgia to the ropes last year, and frankly, they probably should have won that game. And I think that I believe they have a lot of returning players. This is projected to be a very good ACC team. So, yes, I have it as a loss. I think it's going to be I have it as a close loss, but I think it's a loss that you can build off of and go into the Big 12 schedule hitting it hard.
Yeah, I'm also in the loss camp. Hopefully you guys can hear me now, but feel free to jump in if you can't. I'm also in the loss camp. As I was doing my research, it seems like Georgia Tech has a really good team. I mean, Haynes King is really impressive at quarterback for Georgia Tech. And just looking at the projected ACC standings, people are really high on this Georgia Tech team. Another thing I factored in is I think this Buffs offense will get off to a slow start. I don't think that'll be the same case for the Georgia Tech offense. And I could see Georgia Tech kind of starting out the gates pretty hot. I was looking at Caden Salter's tape just a couple days ago, and one theme was he does start slow. At least he did last year. That was one of his biggest problems last year. So I could see this offense off to a slow start, which is why I predicted a loss for this first game.
Yeah. And Haynes King, for those who don't remember, Colorado's played Haynes King before when he was at Texas A&M, and that's actually how he got injured.
Ugliest game
before.
ever.
Yeah, it was an ugly game for everyone, an unfortunate injury for him, but he's turned it around, transferred over to Georgia Tech, and got an opportunity. So moving on to Delaware. Delaware this year coming out of the Colonial Athletic Association, where my wife's alma mater, William and Mary, still plays. Going into Conference USA. So Colorado gets to face the newest FBS team out there. Wins across the board. Sreyas, you want to go first on what you got?
Yeah, not much to say other than this is technically an FBS opponent. So that is kind of cool that it's an all FBS schedule. That's one of the few teams in the country that's done that. So we're happy that it's FBS, but usually these FBS transition teams are going through struggles because they haven't had the opportunity to recruit multiple classes at the FBS level and fully compete. In the past, we have seen some teams kind of hit the ground running and have a good year. Like I think Jack State, if I recall correctly, made the transition well. I think JMU made the transition well. I don't know if that's what we can expect from Delaware. Delaware hasn't really been in the forefront in our minds, like in probably 20 years when Joe Flacco was there. And Joe Flacco, of course, is starting for the Cleveland Browns and is 40 years old. So I'm hoping that this is an opportunity to get Juju Lewis some time, and maybe in the second half, if he doesn't start already. I don't think they've named starters yet, and get some of these guys fed. So that would be really great. And hopefully this isn't one of those like ugly trap games like we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I hate to overlook it. I don't have a whole lot to add beyond that. Jake, Topher, anything else to add on for the mighty Delaware Blue Hens, I think, right? Yeah.
We're going to curb stomp those Blue Hens. I know they're a popular college football 25 dynasty pick, but there's a reason for that. It's because they're garbage. We're going to curb stomp them.
All right, let's hit next.
All righty, next up. Sorry, let me get back here. Okay, cool. Next up, we have Wyoming at home. Family weekend for the Buffs. I believe we have wins. Oh, sorry, Houston. I jumped ahead. Thank you, Houston. Houston on the road in Houston, Texas on ESPN. It's going to be an evening game at 5:30 p.m. and wins across the board. Topher, do you want to kick us off and give us your thoughts for that Houston game?
I think Houston's going to have a rebound year, but I just don't know if they're going to be able to put it together to be able to compete with the talent that we're going to be bringing in. I think that this is going to be probably our first time. It's going to be our first conference game, so there's always going to be that possibility. But I just really don't see Houston being one that's going to be a threat to the talent level that Colorado's currently carrying on our roster.
Yeah, I think for me, watching Houston's offense last year was like watching Colorado back in 2022. Absolutely abysmal. I don't foresee that changing a whole lot. I agree, Topher. I think they're going to be better this year than last. I think their defense can be fun and flirty, and they can kind of knock you in the mouth. But I think that we just have too much talent. I think we survive this one, even though it is at Houston, primetime, or essentially a primetime game on ESPN. But yeah, I think we have enough to get this one done and have 3 wins in the win column going into week 4.
What I will say is this is a game that last year's team, it would have been scary. I would have been very, very scared to face Houston last year. We saw what Houston did with BYU. They really took them to the ropes and almost pulled it off for us, which would have been huge for CU because it would have put us in the Big 12 championship game. But nevertheless, that was a physical defense, and they were very, very good. Like, obviously, offensively was a disaster, and that would have most likely given us an opportunity to still win that game despite our own shortcomings in the trenches. But I have this as a win this year solely because I do believe they're going to demonstrate a level of improvement, and I think this is going to be the first of those games where you see that pan out in a win where it may have been a loss last year. All right, Jake, what you got?
Yeah, I don't have much more to add for Houston. I think we're going to beat them. So I think we can keep marching. Moving on to Wyoming, family weekend in Boulder, Colorado. The time is TBD. We got wins across the board. Chase, you want to kick us off on this one?
Yeah, it's kind of strange to see Wyoming without Craig Bowl as the head coach for the first time in, I mean, it feels like forever. I think this could be a trap game. This is the one I'm most worried about, actually, in those first four. I think Wyoming plays tough. I think you get a lot of kids, as we all know, from especially Douglas County schools that go up and play at Wyoming. I think this game is personal for them. I think they're going to, I don't know if they're going to travel super well, but I think there's definitely going to be a Wyoming contingent there. I think this is an interesting game. I think we have enough to get it done. It's family weekend as well, so the crowd should be, locked and loaded, ready to get excited. So I have this one as a win, but I think this is a game that people should not be overlooking. And, I'm going to be pretty nervous about this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's well said. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, Wyoming's not going to be a good football team this year. I think they're going to be in the lower half of the Mountain West Conference. Topher might be disagreeing with me. We'll see. But I know the betting odds, their season predictions at 5.5 wins. So I just don't see this team being a good football team this year.
Sorry, Jake. I'm in total agreement. They're going to be bad. I'm personal friends with Wyoming fans, and they're like, yeah, we don't have an identity for our football team anymore. We lost our head coach, and we just don't know what to expect. So they're not expecting anything coming this season. So I think we steamroll that and get another confidence boosting game.
Yeah, it's nice playing another Front Range team that isn't CSU, and I think we know
Air Force.
Or Air Force. Oh God, Air Force is giving me nightmares. Wyoming basketball gives me nightmares like Air Force football does. So it is nice seeing another Front Range school, and we'll see. We'll see how the Wyoming contingent turns out. I imagine that this is going to be a big game for their fan base. Like when we played them in basketball, it usually was. And I think that now CU programs sufficiently afraid of their basketball team that we may not schedule them again for a while. But hopefully that's not the case with football.
Alrighty, next up, we have the BYU game. I am the only person to predict an L on this game. So we have wins across the board for Chase, Race, and Topher, and then Jake with the loss. I guess I should start us off because I'm in the hot seat here. But yeah, this BYU game's at home on ESPN. And obviously the big story for BYU's offseason is they lost their quarterback. He hit the portal due to some trouble he got in.
We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. But look, when I do this, I look at the matchups. I look at the position group matchups, the overall matchups between the offense and the defense on both sides of the football, as well as after I look at that, I look at if there's any sleeper games. I look at the other team's schedule, look at CU's schedule, see if there could be any sleeper implications there. And BYU kind of plays some cupcakes before CU. They have a little test against Stanford for week 1. But then before that, I think they play Eastern Carolina.
Stanford that lost to Hawaii? That Stanford?
Wait. Are we talking about the same Stanford? Stanford's terrible.
Okay, a Power 4 team. So they get their feet a little bit wet. And then I think they'll be ready for CU. I think BYU is a good team. I know that you have the big question at quarterback. So I was going back and forth on this one. But I also like to add a little bit of spice in my picks, and I think they can maybe catch CU sleeping here. I think CU is a better football team, but my gut just went with a loss here.
Yeah, I think I was also on the fence, so I'm probably the least optimistic other than you. So we'll let it rise as we go through our predictions. But, I think, the BYU team that played us in the bowl game handled us, right? And I think that a lot of that was in the lines. What I'm excited about after that Dukes episode, I think our O-line is truly improved, and I think that's going to be a big difference in this game. I think we have just enough at home with a rowdy fan base. BYU obviously travels well, especially in Colorado, but I think we have enough to get this one done. I think this is going to be a gel game for the team. I think this is going to be a team that's going to take a game that's going to have to take some grit. But I think this team is there, and I think we get that done in a close one.
Yeah, I think this is my classic Shreyas pull some magic pick. And I probably wouldn't have been inclined to take this one if Jake Retzloff was still there. That is an enormous loss. When you lose a guy that was really your glue for your offense, certainly last year. I know they had some incredibly talented offensive linemen. And we, as Chase indicated and Jake indicated, like we saw that play out, unfortunately, in the bowl game. But between the Folsom Magic and our improvement in that specific area, I think we got this one. I don't know that it's going to be a blowout, though. It's going to be one of those like close Folsom games. Hopefully bounces our way, unlike the Kansas State game last year.
I'm pretty optimistic. I think it's going to be a slugfest, and it's an 8:15 kickoff, so that means it's a double overtime guaranteed. But I think it's a double overtime game that the Buffs will come out on top, and I don't think it's going to feel worrisome. I think it's going to feel like the Buffs are always in control. Every time they're going to throw a punch, we're going to throw one right back, and it's just going to be a matter of time before they just wear down playing in front of 40,000 rabid Buffs fans called the Charge.
The Charge. Oh, we lost Jake again. All right. We got to move forward to Iowa State now. So, Jake,
Nope,
you can still hear
TCU.
us. Oh, it's TCU. Man, I can't read. All right.
Yeah,
TCU
so-
first. Go ahead, Chase.
We got TCU in kind of an interesting. They're supposed to be kind of a moderate, middle of the road team. I don't think they have really any running game, and I think our secondary is going to be enough. I don't know if we were able to pull it down, but I think our secondary is going to be enough. This is going to be a tough road test. I can already tell you that because it's not in Folsom, Strays has the L. But yeah, I think this is going to be a game where the talent outshines. I think TCU is going to have their quarterback and wide receiver are supposed to be pretty sick, but I think we have enough talent to keep them clamped down. And I think this is another one where on the road, the team has the grit to get it done.
Yeah, I guess I'll stand by the loss. The biggest thing that I have going in my head is TCU is what started all this Prime Mania. That was incredible. One of the best sports experiences of my life, especially because I got to share it with my parents. It was hot as hell, and those TCU fans were ready to pound on us and make fun of us, especially as 21.5-point favorites. But then when we pulled it off, that ignited one of the craziest months in recent memory in like Colorado sports. Even it's almost like Tebow mania level of insanity. So my thought process here is really, other than the fact that, as Chase pointed out, that TCU does have a very good quarterback, Hoover, I believe, coming back. That's always a very important piece of the story. But I do think that they're going to come up. They're going to not take this lightly at all. They want to prove a point. They want to make sure that everyone remembers what happened in 2023, and they're out to prove that that's not what their program's all about. So this is kind of like the inverse Folsom Magic, where it seems like in the past we'd find some way to lose a road game that maybe we shouldn't, and maybe we should be favored, as you guys are indicating. But I have as an L.
And McAllister's the wide receiver's name, but I can't remember it. But Hoover to McAllister, that's going to be the thing that we have to stop. But Jake, Topher, what do you got?
I think by this point in the season, it'll be clear that the Buffs are head and shoulders above TCU. I think if we can put together the run that I have predicted as far as just winning down column, we will have enough momentum, we will have enough chemistry, we will have enough camaraderie that we are just going to steamroll TCU like they're not even there.
TCU's too in to dress up. We're going to beat them. That's all I got.
Nice.
All right, next up, we have Iowa State in Boulder. Iowa State is the only – Iowa State and Kansas State are the two teams on this list that we've actually seen play before we did the season prediction. But for the Iowa State game, we have wins across the board except for Jake. So Chase, Race, Topher have a win. This game's at home in Boulder. I guess I can kick us off. So a little caveat here. I got to disclose this. My brother and my dad went to Iowa State.
Yep, there it is. I'm glad you did it, so I didn't have to.
But I really like Rocco Becht. Both offenses in that game in Dublin had a rough time. Tough weather out there, but I think Iowa State still got a good football team. They lost two key guys on their offense with their wide receivers, Higgins and Noel. So it'll be interesting to see how Rocco Becht does without those guys. But look, I think Iowa State has a good stout defense. I think they have a good secondary, and I think this is going to be a close game. And ultimately, I'm leaning on an L here, and I hope I'm wrong. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't know. I the more I look at my W, the less I like it. I think that's going to be a tough game. I think that's a really talented team. I could see this one going either way. This could be the game where like our kicking kills us. I hate to say it, but I feel like it's just those the margins are not big, right? So if something does not go the way that we need it to go, I could say. That being said, I predicted it as a win. So who knows? I think we're a really talented team. I think this is going to be like a potentially, because I have us winning every game up until then, like a top 15 matchup. So I think that it's going to be hot. It's going to be the stadium's going to be electric, but I believe in this team and the talent, but I don't know. This is a tough one.
Hey, shout out to Chase Soul, by the way, for being projected, I believe, to be one of the starting wide receivers at Iowa State. Those of you who may not remember, Chase Soul was he was a 2022 buff, and he was one of the people that departed with the coaching change. So good for him for being able to turn around. That's a couple now. I think Dimitri Stanley from those years also ended up at Iowa State, so it's kind of cool to see them continue to succeed. Now, as far as the actual game, yeah, I think you guys nailed it in the sense that I wonder why I did pick this. Like, it is going to be interesting. It's going to be one of our tougher games for sure. And this is going to just turn into the constant theme in the rest of my picks, which you'll see about Folsom Magic. I don't have much else to add.
I very confidently picked a W here. And the reason why is because I have relatives flying in from Taiwan, and they are legitimately 7-0 when they go to games in Folsom.
Oh,
You just jinxed it, dude.
So all I'm saying is they win when they come. So they're gonna be there in stadium, and we're gonna beat them. Something's gonna happen.
That is incredibly impressive when you think about our track record over the past 20 years and the games that they've managed to avoid in order to be 7-0 on that record. Wow.
All right, next up, we have at Utah in Salt Lake City on October 25th.
Wow.
Jake has a win. Chase, Sarias, and Topher have a loss. So I flipped on this one. I'm the contrarian of the group right now. I'm going against you guys often, early and often, baby. Yeah, this is just a little sprinkle of magic that I had to sprinkle into my win-loss prediction. Look, I think Utah's a great team. I think they're going to bounce back this year. I think they have the best O-line in the Big 12, but I think our defensive line matches up well with them. And I think that's their biggest strength of this football team. And I think, Caden Salter's going to create some magic in Salt Lake City.
who's spying on Devon Dampier? That guy was so good at New Mexico. That addition, along with their always stout lines, and then it did seem like they kind of quit on the season last year, at least as an outsider looking in. They're gonna be reloaded. I could see this being a tough matchup, even if CU ends up just as good as some of us are predicting on the trenches. It's just adding that dynamic quarterback to the mix who's already proven himself against really good talent. That's tough. They're a really good team.
In the same way that I had this as a loss, the more I think about it, I think this one might be a win. But I think what's going to be going for Colorado is because our D-line is so talented and so deep, I think we can survive a rushing attack that Utah's going to have like we weren't able to previously. So I don't know. I think going to Salt Lake is always really challenging, especially in what it'll be November by then. But I had this one as a loss. I could see this one also going either way. I think Utah's a really well-coached team. I think Utah's got lines that are going to punch you in the mouth. And I think this is a game where we're going to have some things go our way to get the win out in Salt Lake.
I think Utah is probably the most disciplined team in the Big 12, just program wide. They just have built it from the ground up, and they know what they're doing. And I think that is going to really show through, especially in Salt Lake, where we're just going to make some mistakes, and they are just not. That'll be the difference in the game.
Alrighty. Next up, we have just erase his face. Okay, we fixed that. The Arizona game. Next up is Arizona at home. This is homecoming in Boulder, Colorado on November 1st. We have wins across the board. We're feeling pretty good against this Arizona team. Who wants to kick us off? What are you guys' thoughts?
I mean, we saw what Arizona was last year. clearly Jed Fish was working some magic there. And even with Fafita and Tetero McMillan still on that roster, they were not good. And Fafita is back, and we'll see if he can bounce back. But it's clear that whatever offense they were running for him under Jed Fish is just not there anymore. I don't buy that there's going to be much of a bounce back as much as they want it, watching their in-state rival win the Big 12 last year, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I think Arizona is going to be really bad this year. I think this was a quality homecoming scheduling. I hope I don't eat my words. I'm planning to be there for this game if I can, but I think this is just I think this is a good time to have this game as well later in our schedule. I hope we don't overlook this game, but Fafita's coming back, but none of the weapons that he's relied on are coming back, and they were already just not good last year. I think we can contain this one. I think we get the win on this. I think we're pretty convincing in it.
Nothing to add.
Next up, we have West Virginia in Morgantown, November 8th. We have wins across the board. Topher, what are your thoughts on this West Virginia football team?
I am a little worried about this one, right? Because you never know what you're going to get with West Virginia team. They could have an electric run and put something together. But I really do think, the Buffs will come into this with an established run game, with an established pass game, with Caden Salter really coming into himself. And to remind everybody, Caden Salter 2 years ago almost threw for 2,900 yards. And I think he's going to be that version of himself this year. So the optimism with all those wins is in lockstep with Caden Salter being the best version of himself the same way he was as a game changer 2 years ago.
The troop surge has just started under President George W. Bush, and Rich Rodriguez is head coach of the University of West Virginia. Oh, actually, no, that's 2025. Rich Rodriguez is back as the head coach of the University of West Virginia. This team has a lot that it needs to improve. I don't anticipate that I think their running back, Jaheim White, is pretty for real, but this is another one where I think we're just more talented. I think our secondary is going to excel in this game, and I think our wide receiver core is going to absolutely light them up. I think it is incredibly hard to go into West Virginia late in the year and leave with a win, so I agree with you, Topher. I think this is a tough game for the environmental purposes, but I think West Virginia has a lot of steps that they have to take under Rich Rodriguez in order to kind of rebuild that program that's actually been pretty good over over its span of the Big 12.
Yeah, we did get to see Rich Rod's West Virginia team. He may have been gone by then, but it was the team that he built way back in 2007 and 2008 when we had that home and home with them. And I think that Rich Rod has the ability to get them going again. He obviously struggled coaching at the higher level when he went to Michigan. But I think he's a great fit in Morgantown, and I expect him to eventually turn it around. Just don't think it's going to happen this year. It feels like they had kind of a surprisingly good year last year. I think everyone was expecting it to go worse, but then there were a lot of seniors on that team. And we will see Nico Marchiol start. That could be interesting. He's a Colorado guy. He's Regis High School at some point before he left the state. So that'll be interesting to see another hometown tie.
Yeah, just to add one thing briefly, Morgantown can be a tough place to play. So I think this could be a little bit of a trap game. But again, I put a win for this game. Moving on, though, to the next game, which is November 22nd at home against Arizona State. And this one, I was surprised to see our predictions. That's why I'm not sharing them yet. Just had to build it up a little bit. Arizona State, Jake had a win. Chase had a loss. Both Sirius and Topher also had a win. So we have 3 wins to 1 loss against the Arizona State Sun Devils, the team predicted to win the Big 12. I could start us off. I mean, Arizona State has a great offense with Sam Levitt leading the charge, arguably maybe the best quarterback in the Big 12, along with Jordan Tyson, the former Buff, the one that got away. But I think losing Scadaboo is going to hurt this offense a little bit here. And the defense, they don't impress me a whole lot. I mean, they're going to be a solid team, but I think the Buffs can maybe sneak through and get a win here.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how ASU handles being the hunter, handles being the hunter right? So for the last few years,
The hunted.
being the hunted, my bad.
Yeah.
I keep getting that confused. I even tried to think about it for a second. No, but last year they snuck up on everyone. They were picked to finish dead last, and all of a sudden they won the Big 12. And so and then even against Texas, they were down huge. What were they down, like 3 or 4 scores in that game, and then ended up taking it to overtime? Arguably should have won the game. They outgained Texas. So this is a very different role that they have to play here, where now they're the team to beat, so to speak. And I get the feeling that overall this program is still somewhat rebuilding into the powerhouse they want to be overall. And I could see them dropping a couple like rowdy road games where maybe a more talented and experienced version of that program in a few years is going to, if Dillingham continues on the trajectory that he's on, just steamrolls opponents. So that's kind of the logic that I have, at least. They're a very talented team, but we'll see how they handle their new role.
Yeah, I'll be the Debbie Downer real quick. This is where I break apart from Topher on our magical run of predicting all the same wins and losses. I think this is my hot take. They lost Cam Skattebo. He is a dog. He's an absolute dog. I think he's going to be sick in the NFL. I think they got better at running back this year from Cam Skattebo. They've got Kanye Udu coming from Army. He is for real. I think this is going to be a really talented team. I think Sam Levitt's for real. I want to believe. I really do. But I went on record of saying this wide receiver room for Colorado is better than last year. The problem is in this game, Colorado's not going to have the best wide receiver on the field. Jordan Tyson's going to be there making us regret his transfer, despite the fact that, we would have loved to keep him. But I just think this is one that's going to get ugly. I think we're going to get caught off guard. And I think this is going to be a big loss for the Buffs. This is going to be the kick to the nuts loss that we seem to have every year around that time. I think this is going to be a big loss.
How dare you disrespect Omarion Miller like that? Omarion Miller will be the best wide receiver on the field every Saturday. There is zero doubt in my mind. He will be the best. He'll be the best wide receiver in the country.
Chase, didn't you just say 2 weeks ago that we had a more talented wide receiver group than last year? And
and I mean it.
You're saying
if Jordan Tyson was in that, if Jordan Tyson was in that room, it'd be even better.
If Jordan Tyson was in the room, it would still be Omarion Miller is the X1 receiver. That's my hot take. Not even hot take. That's like my lukewarm take. Anyways, continuing on, I think we can't overstate how much Cam Skattebo meant to Arizona State. He was their safety blanket. Every single short yardage situation, we're just going to give it to Cam. And we're going to throw it to Cam. And we're going to let Cam throw. He was everything to them. And so you have a lot of new pieces coming in, and you don't have that safety blanket. I really think that this is going to be a Arizona State team that's going to have some growing pains.
All righty. Next up, last game of the year, Kansas State on the road in Manhattan, Kansas on November 29th. Let me share my screen here. Jake, Chase, and Sirius all have a loss, and Topher has the lone victory, putting Topher's regular season prediction at only 1 loss for the Buffs. Topher, I think we got to open it up with you just with this hot take of a win against Kansas State.
They'll call me a madman until I'm right. But
yeah,
I saw Avery Johnson. I saw Avery Johnson this weekend. And this was the Avery Johnson that was touted to us as a Heisman Trophy candidate. And granted, he was playing against a very, very good Iowa State team. But his 2 touchdowns were blown coverages. Any average quarterback is going to make that throw. I just thought he had played a very, very mid-game, looked very, very frazzled, and it looked like a K-State team that was not as sharp, not as disciplined, not as well coached. There were multiple times Iowa State came out and they just left wide receivers wide open, uncovered. Iowa State didn't see it, but those are things that are coached. Those are things that are prepped for. And if that's something that are showing signs this early in the season, that's something they can clean up. But I just think a first loss with that type of loss to an Iowa State team, I think that really ruins their season. I don't think they're going to be the team that K-State fans believe they are.
This is where I become the villain. I think Colorado quits after a bad loss at Arizona State. And I think the wheels fall off, and I think the lights are really bright because I think this game against Kansas State might be for the Big 12 based off my projections. Because going into that, we would be 9-2. And I think the team quits. I think the team gets punched in the face against Arizona State. And I think this is where I could see the wheels falling off. It feels like that's happened essentially every year for the Buffs to an extent, right? The first year under Prime, we started hot and then the wheels fall off. Last year, we started really well and then we get really punched in the mouth and the wheels kind of fall off. I think that happens again. I hope I'm proven wrong. I hate to be the villain on that, but I think I also have to be a realist. And I think this is where the Buffs have that opportunity in their hands and they let it go again. And I hope I'm wrong. I think there's more leadership on this team, but at the risk of being the bad guy, at the risk of getting all the mean YouTube comments and all the angry tweets at us, I have to be proven wrong until I see otherwise.
Do the wheels considered to be falling off if you win 9 games still? I'm just curious.
But that's what I'm saying, right? Like last year, it was by any metric, I think we would all, other than maybe Jake last year, have been excited about the result that we got, right? But at the end of the day, when the rubber hits the road against the really tough teams at the end of the year, they just didn't find a way to win. And I think I need to see that this team can do that. I think you talk a lot about perseverance and stuff like that, but I think you got to prove it. And this is where I could just see it just not quite being there. Not that it would be a bad season. 9 wins, great season. That's a really phenomenal season. I'd be happy about it, but that's what I'm concerned about there. And we're making predictions. We're betting what we think will happen.
Yeah.
Did you say I wasn't excited with a 9-win season last year?
I don't know. I feel like your expectations are a national championship or it's a failure.
This is basketball, man.
Yeah.
Grace, did you have anything else to add there?
No, nothing much to add. I think that's going to be a tough environment. I think that's the week. Is that the week after Thanksgiving? I can't remember how everything shakes out. Is that when Thanksgiving is, or is the week after? Either way, it's going to be a tough environment. Now, if on the other hand, Kansas State has had the wheels falling off like Utah did last year, then it could be a nice opportunity. And I think all of us seem to be in that we're going to compete for 6 to 8 wins, if not more, in the Big 12. And so I think regardless of any of our predictions, this is a big game.
Yeah, the only thing I had to add is after watching him play Iowa State, I toyed with changing my prediction here as a Buffs win. I think it's going to be a close game. Yeah, Topher's on board. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think this Kansas State team's a little bit overrated, but I think they'll get it together towards the end of the season. So, I mean, it'll be a fun one. And like you said, Chase, this could decide a lot in the Big 12. So we'll see. Next up, we have the Big 12 championship game. And for this prediction, Topher's the only one that has us playing in it, which makes sense with his overall season win-loss prediction. Again, he only had one
rematch with Utah, baby. Bring them on.
Ooh.
Neutral site rematch with Utah. Bring them on.
Oh, it'd be epic.
Topher did pick a win. So he had the Buffs winning over Utah for the Big 12 championship game.
And that puts us into the college football playoff, baby.
We'll get there. But yeah, Chase and Sirius, you guys didn't have the Buffs going on to the Big 12. Do you guys have a prediction who will be in that game and or the winner?
That's a good question. I think Utah definitely has the opportunity to be one. They're going to benefit greatly from having Dampier. It's going to make a huge difference for them. And then just the clean slate of not having last year's bad taste left in your mouth. I think that team is going to be really tough to beat. Now, who else is going to play them? I think it's pretty wide open. Honestly, even with Utah, it's pretty wide open because I think we'll be in the mix. I think that our predictions are valid. They're not just pie in the sky. It's based on what we've heard from the team, specifically what they've improved. And then Kansas State will be there. ASU should be there, although we'll see how they handle the new role, as I've said now 4 times without trying to repeat the idiom. It's going to be a wide open Big 12 season. I'm really excited to see it. Just for the sake of what it would be, wouldn't it be fun to see a Utah-BYU Big 12 championship game? Holy war, except it for college football playoff at stake.
That'd be awesome. I've got Arizona State, Texas Tech for me. I think Baylor will be.
We haven't talked about Texas Tech because we're not playing them this year.
Actually,
you're
I'm
right.
glad we're not. I'm glad we're not playing them. I think that team's gonna be sick.
That would be my pick. That's gonna be my pick. Utah, Texas Tech.
Who you got winning?
I think I'll take Utah.
Yeah, I got Texas Tech going. I have Texas Tech making the college football playoff. I think Baylor's also gonna be up there. That's a team that people should not be sleeping on. I think we pulled a pretty good Big 12 schedule this year as far as the Buffs can, as far as the teams that we could have pulled.
I agree.
But I think Texas Tech is going to be really stingy defensively, and I think that might actually translate well into the college football playoff. So while I do not think our beloved Buffaloes will be there, I could see Texas Tech making a little bit of a run and really surprising some people and representing the Big 12 well, going that direction.
Alrighty, with that, we have the last line here in our schedule, the bowl game. Going into the season, Coach Prime at the kickoff dinner mentioned that his goal, God wanted him to be a little bit more clear with his goal, and his goal this year is to win a bowl game for Miss Peggy. Not go, but win. What's funny is Topher has 12 wins predicted for the Buffs, including a Big 12 championship game, but he has the Buffs falling short of that goal with a loss for their bowl game. Chase, Sarius, and Jake all have a win in their bowl game. Topher, I kind of called you out if you want to kick it off. I mean, you have them in the college football playoff, so I respect it.
College football playoff, we get the first round bye. So what we saw last season is the teams that got that first round bye is a long time to not be playing, and I think that's really going to hurt the Buffs. This is also going to be playing with the big boys. We're going to be matched up with an SEC team, almost certainly. And I think that that's going to be a little bit of a sticker shock compared to the rest of the schedule that we've played. And I think we're going to fold in that situation, which sucks because we're not going to complete the goal that Coach Prime set. But we will have said that we've seen the Colorado Buffaloes make a college football playoff before Nebraska.
That's a great point. Never even thought of that. But I'm ready for this monkey to be off our back, guys. It's the last time we won a bowl game was in 2004. I'm so over it. We have to win. I don't care if it's like the Guaranteed Rate Bowl or the Hawaii Bowl or some bowl that the Big 12 doesn't even have a tie into. We got to win. This is it. I get that the bowl, it's easy to write off the bowl game as like a glorified scrimmage and it doesn't mean anything. But man, 21 years, this got to change, man. We got to win. But I don't even want to offer any more predictions. I'm just saying we got to win.
Rich Rodriguez was coach of West Virginia the last time Colorado won a bowl game.
Yeah.
If that puts things into perspective. I have us winning our bowl game. I have us playing in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, which is an ACC matchup, and playing the Florida State Seminoles and beating them. I think Florida State, I'm hot on Florida State. This is me putting it on record on film. I'm a believer in Florida State this year. I think they're going to have a big bounce back season. I think we pull them in the bowl game and beat them, and everyone sings Kumbaya on the 50-yard line, and it's awesome. And that's even better than getting blown out in the college football playoff by the Penn State Nittany Lions, the Big Ten team that takes them down.
I love that prediction, Chase. I don't have much more to add here. Other than Coach Prime has hit every single goal he made for himself so far at CU, I think he's going to hit this one with the bowl game win. So just taking a step back one more time and just going over our predictions. The most bullish on the Buffs is Topher with 12 wins. That is 11 regular season wins plus a Big 12 championship game win. Next up is Chase with 10 wins for the season. That is 9 wins in the regular season plus the bowl game win. And then Jake and Sarius both with 8 wins in the regular season plus 1 bowl game win, putting them at 9 wins total. On average, our podcast is 10 wins for this season, which is, you got to be slamming that over
thank
here.
God Jake finally figured out how to use the average function, or maybe it was just bailed out by the fact that we clumped better on our predictions this year. But
But yeah, guys, what do you guys have any other overall thoughts? What are you guys' thoughts with our predictions? Do you have any other thoughts for position groups we didn't get to talk about last week?
Let me just hop in really quickly. I think we have prided ourselves on being a podcast for Colorado football that is realists and people that have always been there and have, expectations that are not super sky high. So this really scares me, right? Because generally we've been pretty pessimistic. The win over total for Colorado this season is 6.5 wins. And I think the fact that the most pessimistic selection here was 9 wins kind of speaks to how much I think this team is. I don't think we are just blind believers, right? Like I think we're pretty realistic, other than maybe Topher, who whatever he's smoking, I want in on. But I think generally we're pretty realistic here with our predictions, and I think the Big 12 is wide open. I think we can surprise a lot of people. I think we're really talented, but I think it kind of goes to show how much people are sleeping on the Buffs this year. I think it's really easy to say Shedeur and Travis are gone. They're going to be terrible. Be pessimistic, but I really think there's a lot left in the cupboards, and I think we're locked and loaded and going to be pretty fun and exciting this year. So anyway, I just got to throw that out there. I feel like we were maybe a little too rosy. Someone needed to be more dour. That's normally Jake's role on the podcast. I guess when we get to basketball, I'm sure he'll make up for it. But anyway, just had to get that out there.
What I will say is talk to me again on Saturday, and we'll see what the expectations are. This game coming up in a few days here, there's a lot on the line here. And even if we lose, it's not even about wins or losses. It's about how. If we see the same lines that we saw for the last 2 years, I have to recalibrate completely. I think the entirety of my 9 wins is predicated on that improvement. And I said this last year too, and they really didn't improve year over year that much on the lines. Our schedule is a little easier. And of course, Travis Hunter won the Heisman, and Shedeur had an incredible season, won the Unitas, Golden Arm Award. So that definitely makes up for a lot of ills, but that's not going to cut it moving forward. We don't have a guaranteed Heisman, although Topher does believe Omarion Miller is going to be the Heisman. So we'll start that campaign as well. But nevertheless, it really is about what your boys up front are doing. So yeah, talk to me on Saturday. This could be a totally recalibrated set of expectations when we record next week.
Yeah, I mean, as I was going through this, I think every single game on the schedule is a toss-up. I think CU could win any of these games on the schedule. Maybe that Utah one's going to be the toughest, which is funny me saying that because I predicted that as a win. But it's going to be a wide-open Big 12. I know we said that last year. I know a lot of people are saying it this year. That Georgia Tech game, to reiterate what Sirius said, is going to tell so much. And Sirius, I agree with you wholeheartedly. My predictions were based on the O-line too. And I guess this is somewhat in current events. Shedeur Sanders got sacked 4 times. I think this O-line is going to improve a bunch solely off Shedeur not being quarterback. And I love Shedeur Sanders, but he did get himself into situations where he got sacked. He also got out of a bunch of sacks, but I think this O-line is going to look a bit more impressive solely because you have Caden Salter, who's going to step into the pocket and also just run when he sees the hole. So I think that's going to be helpful for this team, as well as I think this O-line, we reloaded, and reloaded is probably not the right term because the O-line wasn't great last year, but we have better players on the line. So I think this CU team is going to be a good team.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to turn around and look at the PFF grades. We didn't get around to asking Max Chadwick when we had him on about how the O-line actually graded out last year. I remember after each game, we'd see who the lowest rated players were, and there's at least a couple offensive linemen on there. But to Jake's point, Shedeur does take some horrific sacks. He did it here. It didn't happen as much at Jackson, but frankly, the one Jackson game that I went to, right, the Celebration Bowl in 2022, Jackson's O-line looked horrible. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, good. We finally have a quarterback coming in that knows how to play with a bad O-line. This should be great. And he put up some great numbers, and we had a great overall run with Shedeur. And he is rightfully considered one of, if not the best passing quarterback that CU's had for his 2 years. But I do kind of see, well, we'll have to see the numbers to see if it bears out, but he could have possibly shared some of that load. But yeah, having the mobile quarterback, if that's who starts, that is an easy way to patchwork a offensive line very quickly. Not that I think that it's going to be bad to begin with, but it'll be very, very interesting to see how that pans out. Okay.
All right. Well, I think we should go into score predictions for this Friday. And I will go first, the most optimistic one. I think the Buffs are going to roll over Georgia Tech. And I think it's going to be like 41-21 final. I think we are going to.
If we do that, I'm switching to 11 wins too.
I think it's also going to be. We're probably going to run the ball for 200 plus yards, right? Having a true dual threat quarterback, and running the football behind a big O line. I think we're going to run the ball on Georgia Tech, and it's going to steamroll them. We're going to control the ball, and Mott is going to hit a couple field goals. 41-21 final.
All right, Shreyas, Jake, you have the losses. You guys go, so I can conclude on an optimistic note.
All right. I'm thinking 28-24 Georgia Tech. Should be very close. Should be close throughout. It's not a backdoor 28-24 where we score a couple touchdowns late. I think it'll be competitive and close the whole way, but then in the end, we'll probably be driving and have the ball close to midfield and then just not get the job done and lose when we should have gotten a touchdown.
Yeah,
But
I'm
we'll
gonna
feel
go.
good. But we'll feel good.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 24-17 Georgia Tech. I think this Buffs offense is gonna get off to a slow start. I don't think this is gonna be a high scoring game. I hope I'm wrong. But yeah, 24-17 Georgia Tech.
I think this is going to be a dogfight. I'm really high on Brent Key. For those of you that can't tell already, I think that is just going to be a well-coached football team. I think it's a talented football team. I think they might legitimately win the ACC this year, but I think we have enough to get this one done. That the talent outshines, and we take this one. I'm gonna put this one at 35-28 for the Buffs.
All right, there you have it. There's our
We all believe
predictions.
we're going to score. Yeah, I guess Jake doesn't believe much in the offense yet, but
Yeah.
otherwise, we'll see. Yeah, if we put up big points, Topher, I might be moving to your prediction next Sunday.
Yeah. Look, I
On
think
Saturday, I want the apologies to be as loud as the criticism.
I think our offense is going to be fine. I just think it's going to take them a couple weeks to figure it out. So, but yeah, with that, how exciting. We got our first week of predictions. We're back, baby.
We're so
It is
back.
football season.
So back.
Yeah, with that, I don't think there's anything else to add. Thank you so much for listening. Please check us out on YouTube, Instagram, MySpace, Facebook, all the things. Not MySpace, but give us a like, give us a subscribe. Thanks for listening.
Go Buffs.
Go Buffs,
Buffs.
baby.
Buffs.